before I forget and then do all of this without recording because I don't save VODs and then kill myself. I'm going to start by talking. I'm also going to go into not studio mode, so this updates real time, right? Real time updates. Yo! Okay. We're going to start by talking about why I am not talking out of my ass, okay? Why am I qualified to have opinions here, okay? So first of all, I have done low-level runs of all games in the trilogy. I think I'm the first person to attempt SC. I think I'm the first person to finish third, which is pretty sick. And my grandmother thinks I have autism. So these are the reasons that I think that I'm good to talk about this and why I have opinions that that matter. Okay? Now with that out of the way, this is why I'm a professional. Okay? This is why I'm an expert. With that out of the way, let's talk about metric, and I'm going to be more detailed this time when talking about metric because I think it's really important, and I was super fucking tired last time. Hello, Con. Yeah, we're done. We're done. I've been editing the video the past couple days. I'm gonna try to get it all done while I have vacation time from work, so hopefully it'll come out relatively soon. But anyway, metric. I think should put professional moron on that list. For your information, okay, I am not a professional moron, okay? I do not do it professionally. It's just a hobby, alright? I'm a moron hobbyist. Okay? Get it right, bud. Okay, so metric. We're going to be going off of what is roughly the rule set that I had for SC, under the assumption that you're doing most of what the game has to offer. You're doing all the side quests and all the optional bosses or whatever, but nothing else. No grinding random encounters, right? No farming money, no farming sepith, no farming levels. None of the other restrictions like no items or deathless or whatever, just no grinding. That's the metric. The reason I go with this is because generally things that are possible without grinding are always possible, whereas things that require you to put in more effort as the player are by nature worse because they're not always possible. Therefore, I think that when ranking like characters in a game where you can grind, you should always assume if it can be avoided. Right? There's like old jank games where you have to or else you get stat walled or whatever. If it can be avoided, then it should not be taken into account when evaluating like viability, right? Some things that I think are important for what makes a character good are how long they're around for, right? Their availability. The reason I think it's so important is because all you can really look at is what the character's actually doing in the game. I feel like so many people get locked in the headspace of min-maxing, of like, if you hyper-optimize things and how things look in a vacuum, like this character on paper has the highest strength if you do XYZ. I don't care, all right? What I care about is what is the character doing in the fights that you have to do to beat the game. That context matters a lot. If you don't have that context, then what's the fucking point? Because then you're just talking into a void of and doing math and playing a numbers game, which is fine. I get how that's fun, but when talking about how good a party member is for beating the game, you have to look at what they do to help you beat the game, you know? I'm definitely curious how you view Xenoblade characters with your perspective, because all everyone cares about is top end. Well, unfortunate for you, I don't have any interest in Xenoblade. We've talked about this before. Maybe one day, maybe, but yeah, so I think that availability is really important to take into account. It's not the be-all, end-all. There's going to be low availability characters that are better than high availability characters, but more what I'm trying to say is that it matters, and that if you don't take it into account, you're ignoring a massive part of the metagame. Next up is things like unique utility. I think is way more important than raw stats, especially in games like SC and third, where augmenting your stats is easier than FC. A lot of the time, that's going to be way more important than, like, raw numbers, right? I care way more about someone like Shara having Heaven's Kiss than I do Xin being able to, like, punch someone for 6k and then delay his turn for 40 minutes. Like, I don't really care about the latter, right? I don't care about the big number if getting to the big number is not practical. So with all that being said, I think that is a much cleaner explanation compared to last time I did this. We're going to get into the list. I'm actually going to pull up my old list because I think the order was, like, close to spot on. I think I was I was pretty right. And I also already posted it on my YouTube community page. Being a good caster isn't a trait that makes you ranked higher. Yeah, well, FC Estelle is a separate reason, because it's not because of her stats, really. But yes, that's something you're going to see a lot in this list, is being a good caster. So we're going to start off. I'm going to do the same thing I did last time, all right? And I'm going to start off with the Ravens, just to get them out of the way. I need to pull up chat on my phone again, because I closed out of it, because I'm fucking stupid, bro. I'm a dumbass. These guys are available for a single side quest in third. And they are designed to be terrible. They are intentionally awful. And so they're all going to go in F tier. Like, they're literally part of one, like, joke throwaway side quest, where the gimmick is that they're bad. If you want to get into specifics, Ray, who is the redheaded one, is the best of the three because he has an extra point of movement. So he's more reliable in every fight except the boss. Rocco is the second best of the three because he has more HP, so he reliably takes a hit from the boss. And Dean is the worst of the three because he has nothing. Like, he just he's like supposed to be a wimp in the lore, so he intentionally has less HP, less strength, whatever. So these are the three worst characters. There's not much to talk about with them, and I don't want to really waste time talking about them. I'm also going to click on this layer so Rocco isn't highlighted the entire time. Next up, we're going to talk about ones that are already going to be controversial right off rip, alright? I'm baiting engagement. That's not true, I'm not baiting engagement. These are my actual opinions. No baits. But, I'm baiting engagement, okay? We're gonna start with Estelle, and also we're gonna kind of talk about Joshua at the same time. Estelle, FC Estelle, is going right into S tier. She is one of our few S tier characters. This might sound odd to people who have played these games casually, because Estelle always has a bad rap of being bad in, like, every game she's in the series. But FC Estelle is bar none the best character in FC, and it's by a country mile, right? I'm gonna start off with the bad things about her, because there's not that many of them. It's mostly just that this game doesn't have EXP scaling, so a lot of the time your characters are genuinely underleveled. It's not like Trail's underleveled, where your EXP scales really hard, and so you're like 1 or 2 levels underleveled, but the damage formulas make it feel like a lot. Like, Joshua and Estelle are genuinely wimps for like half the game. It's bad. So chapter 1, it's like the back half of the prologue, chapter 1, and parts of chapter 2, Estelle is a brick. Joshua is too. It's like they both have the exact same problem. But Estelle has one really, really important trait, and that is she can get Chaos Brand in the prologue. She's the only character who's capable of doing this. Joshua can't do it because he has time-locked slots, and it's also too expensive to unlock his third slot in time. And Shara can't do it because she has windlock slots. And again, it's too expensive to unlock another slot to get her to Chaos Brand. This means that Estelle is the only character who can Chaos Brand for Josette. She's the only character that can Chaos Brand for most fights in Chapter 1, which, by the way, you need Chaos Brand to get through on low level. You can't do them without Chaos Brand. Maybe if you buy, like, an obscene amount of revival items and slog your way through them, but really the only efficient way to do it is with Chaos Brand. Olivier can Chaos Brand in Chapter 1 too, but he's not around very long. And there's also times you might want to. Chapter 2, excuse me. Chapter 2. Estelle is capable of getting Earthwall when Joshua can't, and then is later capable of getting Chaos Brand and Earthwall when Joshua can only usually get one of the two. So she has constant access to the literal best spells in the game, and other characters really, really struggle to do this. Right? The only characters that don't struggle to do this is, like, Olivier. And that's it. It's just Olivier. Lock slots are really bad in FC because most quartz in FC gives one element. It gives, like, a lot of one element. She has other benefits too. That's the big thing. That's why she's S tier. But on top of this, morale is really good. Strength buffs in this game are strength and arts. So she boosts the entire party's magic damage by 20%. So even though her damage output is lackluster, quote unquote, it doesn't matter because she boosts the whole party, including herself. Her buff also targets herself, including her own damage output, so she's actually quite good for your damage. And late game she gets Barrage, which is like the best S-craft in the game because it shits out damage. The true S-tier characters are confused in Max Guard. It's true. It's actually so true. Joshua has the same problems that Estelle does, except his upsides aren't as good. The things that make Joshua good is in the prologue, he's better than Estelle because you're probably going to unlock his slot first. so you can take advantage of all the quartz that you get, because he has a lock slot to start off with. He is pretty good at offense in Chapter 3. There's not a big difference between Estelle and Joshua. I don't think Joshua hits any benchmarks that Estelle doesn't, except maybe in King Penguin, because that fight is really tight to kill on low level. He is a little bit better at offense there. In most fights, I don't think it matters, but I think in King Penguin it might matter. I haven't like done the math. It's a little bit vibes based there. And Dual Strike is really good. There's a lot of fights in this game there's not a lot of fights, but there's a decent amount of fights in this game that you want physical offense for, and Dual Strike is usually your best physical offense because it's basically him attacking twice, like using the attack command twice, essentially, which is really, really good. It's nerfed in every game afterwards to be like a very weak version of an attack, so, and it like refunds a good amount of CP because it hits twice. So Dual Strike is good when it's not like as broken as people think it is, but it's really good when you need to kill things physically. And he's around the whole game, and he's like good. He's never like, well, I shouldn't say he's never bad. He's terrible in Chapter 1. He is a literal brick in Chapter 1. All he can do is cast healing spells, which is bad because you can just use items, and items are better. I still think that Joshua in FC is one of the best characters in the game. He's so reliable in the back half of the game at so many things, and he's around for the whole game, right? FC characters aren't around very long, so I think it's important to give Joshua credit. One thing that surprised me about your FC run is that people told me that arts were bad in FC, but the answer is that arts damage is just fine and can be augmented around. Yeah, arts are good in FC. They're like way better than physical attacks. The problem with physical attacks is you delay so much in the Sky games. Like, your turn gets pushed back really far. So even if a physical attack does more, which most of the time they don't do more in FC, even if you get them to start doing more, like S-Crafts or Dual Strike in late game are probably doing more than a blue impact. It doesn't matter, because your character's turn gets pushed back so far that you could have cast another spell in that time, and it would have just been more turn efficient. Or you cast a spell, get another turn, do something to respond to the boss, like throw an item or cast a different spell, whatever. They're so much better for action economy compared to physical attacks. But yeah, no. I blame Joshua Delay. The problem with Joshua Delay is so many things resist it. So many things resist it. And it's so hard to get him fast in FC. FC is the hardest game to get him fast enough to act before enemies. But they're still good. They're not like win a fight tools like delays are in SC and third. But they're good. FC Shara is going to A tier. I think probably above Joshua. Obviously, like, it's one of those things where, like, Joshua's more vital. Like, if Joshua was missing, it would matter more than if Shara was missing because of the nature of the game. But Shara is so much better than Joshua every time she's around that I want to put her above him for now. So Shara in the prologue is really, really bulky, really, really strong physically and magically because she joins, like, I think close to 10 levels over-leveled. It is, like, comical how over-leveled she is. So she kind of carries the prologue and the parts of Chapter 1 where Olivier isn't around on her back. She's also the most available character, not counting Estelle and Joshua. Like, of all the... I don't want to call them guest characters. It's basically like every party member in this game is a guest character. But of all the non-Estelle Joshua characters, she's around the most by, like, a lot. Then she comes back in the final chapter, and she is insane. She has the highest base level in the game at that point. She has Heaven's Kiss, which is, like, the best craft in the game. She is on the more important route. She's on the boss rush route with Estelle and Chloe. So she's there for more important fights where, like, Zin, Olivier, and Josh go fight, like, trash mobs. She's actually about as good at casting as Olivier on low level in endgame of FC because she's such a higher level. Like, they have very similar art stats. And even though her line is worse, Heaven's Kiss more than makes up for it. So she's, like, your best character in endgame by a long shot. If she had good availability, she would be an S tier. Next up is FC Olivier. Where did I put him? I put him in B, right? Yeah, that's where he's going again. Olivier in FC is, I think, the best he's ever been. I think this character gets overrated in most games, but he is genuinely amazing in this game. Just amazing line, right? It's the same thing that makes Estelle good. No locked slots. Well, he has a locked slot, but it doesn't matter. Basically, no locked slots means he gets whatever spells you want, and he also is pretty good at casting, and generally, arts is better for damage in the Sky Trilogy. Third, it's dubious, but in FC and SC anyway. Although, speaking of physically, this character is shockingly good at physical attacks in the chapter he joins in, because he's so over-leveled and his weapon has a lot of base damage on it. Well, base damage. It's just a strength boost. It has a big strength boost. So, like, him quick drawing is better AoE than people casting aerial a lot of the time, which is really funny. And his S-Craft shits out damage in Chapter 1. He doesn't carry this trait into the final chapter, obviously, but it's a nice little niche that he has in Chapter 1. Agate sucks. He doesn't, like, suck because he's good in Chapter 2, but he's bad. So Agate is really good in the dogfight in Chapter 2, and he's okay in the Ravens fights. The problem is he just does nothing that you want a character to do in this game. He's, like, sluggish. Physical attacks aren't that good. He doesn't have any of the ridiculous things he has in the later games. Alright, Wild Rage is terrible. It's only 50 CP. He doesn't have Spiralage right off the bat, which is usually his best craft. Flame Smash doesn't knock back. Like, he doesn't have much going for him. He does have one of the best S-Crafts in the game in the final chapter. Actually, he gets it in Chapter 3, and then he rejoins in the final chapter. Doesn't he have the set? Yeah, that's it. It is true. He is the second. No, he doesn't. Sorry, he's actually around longer than Zin, believe it or not. Zin has the second least amount. It's just that the fights that Zin is around for are more meaningful because they're Chapter 4 fights. The fights that Agate is around for is bloated by being able to do a bunch of shitty monster chests in Chapter 3 that don't matter and are easy to kill. Whereas Zin is around for more actual boss fights and story fights. Chapter 3 would actually be super short. It would be like, there would be like no fights if there weren't monster chests. But yeah, Agate blows. He's really bad. He can be okay in the final chapter because you have to go through all those slog monster chests that take forever to kill, and a character that has a big damage S-Craft and can kill everything with a big damage S-Craft is actually quite helpful. Joshua and Zin can do it too. Zin's better at it than Agate, but Agate is better at it than Joshua. Kind of. Joshua's S-Craft has better range, but I digress. Agate's bad. There's not much he does in the game. I like him. He's one of my favorite characters, but he's not very good. Someone who is very good is Chloe. And I have gone back and forth of who do I like more, Olivier or Chloe. Well, not who do I like more, sorry. Who do I think is better, Olivier or Chloe? I'm going to say Chloe. The reason is a lot of the fights that Olivier contributes in Chapter 1 are vulnerable to Chaos Brand. There's like one monster extermination you actually absolutely need him for. But most of the time, you technically don't need his super good offense. Because you just Chaos Brand everything. He helps you Chaos Brand everything. He's still really, really good. Whereas no one is doing what Chloe does with her debuff to Louvet and Richard. Sorry, to Lawrence and Richard. Her debuff is ridiculous in this game because it's 50% strength and 50% strength and defense, which, by the way, like I said, that also means minus 50% arts and minus 50% arts defense. It's ridiculous and is never that strong again for good reason. Chloe is really good in Chapter 2 because, mostly just because Estelle and Joshua still aren't great casters even when they catch up. Chloe's actually not that over-leveled. She's kind of comparable to Estelle and Joshua, even on low level. She, like, joins intentionally weak for lore reasons. But her art stat is so high, and her line is pretty good, so she ends up being really impressive offensively, and also the debuff is super good. And she's around for a couple of the hardest fights in the game. She's around for Ravens and Dogs. Then, in the final chapter, she's around for the Lawrence Gauntlet, which is good. And she's really good in the final dungeon. She's, like, one of your best choices in the final dungeon. I think Shara Chloe is probably the best party for the final dungeon, but I could see an argument for Olivier, maybe. It depends on how much you value the debuff. I do. I think that debuffing... Because the thing is, like, Olivier is better in the fights you can't debuff in, so, like, the final boss. Whereas Chloe is better in fights that you can debuff in, which is every fight up until the final boss. So I valued that a lot more than Olivier being marginally better in 2 fights. But they're comparable. They're both really good. Tita sucks. Not the worst version of the character, but pretty bad. Tita has terrible stats, is the least available character in the game, and you have no reason to use her in the final dungeon. At all. She is absolutely abysmal. The only thing she has going for her is the AoE blind, which is very, very good. The AoE blind is very, very, very good for several fights in Chapter 3. If you are assuming you're not using any of the physical characters in the final dungeon, I think there is an argument that Tita is better than Agate. It's not an argument that I'm going to make right now, because I do think that Agate's okay in the final dungeon if you really want him to be. But there is an argument for Tita being better than Agate if you're assuming neither get used in the final dungeon, which is very funny. Oh yeah, these characters also, I said Shara joins at the highest level. I meant Shara joins at the highest level of any character that's actually worth using. I think Agate and Tita might join at the highest level because they join after Shara and Chloe. I forget, because Lawrence also gives a shit ton of experience. I don't remember. But either way, these two characters do technically also join at a high level in the final dungeon. Zin's gonna go into C. He's like a better version of Agate in this game. Mostly just because he usually joins at a higher level with better stats. He's also around for harder fights than Agate is. And he's got the one of the best S-crafts in the game. He's probably the second best S-craft in the game behind Estelle's. So if you want to use him just for his S-craft in the final dungeon, he's pretty good for that too. He's like not very flashy. There's not much to talk about with Zin in this game. He just kind of walks up and hits things with Smite. Oh yeah, he can confuse things. That's pretty good in this game too. His Smite has a coin flip confuse chance. That's a nice little bit of utility he has, but for the most part, yeah, he's a stat wall. He walks around and hits things. He's a physical character in FC, so he can't be that good, but he is the best of the bunch. And that's FC. That's everyone in FC tiered. Now we're going to move on to SC, starting with Estelle. Where exactly did I put Estelle on the last list? Yeah, that looks right. Estelle is going into B tier. Estelle in SC is pretty good. This character's not that bad. So her downside is her offense in the mid to late game is really, really bad. Like, really, really bad. But she's got a lot to make up for it. So, first of all, her early game offense isn't bad. Barrage, of all of the, like, tier 1 shitty FCS crafts that you get at the start of the game, Barrage is the best of the bunch. It's nerfed from FC. It has a big nerf in damage from FC. But it's still pretty good for burst damage early on. The other thing that Estelle is really good at doing is taunting. Taunt is amazing in this game. It gets you through so many monster exterminations that would otherwise be incredibly difficult or borderline impossible on low level. Estelle can cheese them with taunt. And that taunting of, like, I don't know how many it is, it's like 4 or 5 throughout the game, is super, super valuable. Late game, Wheel of Time is insane. Kind of like how Barrage is insane in FC, just to a lesser extent. And you can, like, throw the time gem on her and just have her be pure utility and you don't care about her bad stats anymore. Her line's a lot worse in this game. That's something that sucks. But I think she's pretty good. Mostly because of the early game S-crafting and Barrage. Or not Barrage, excuse me. Well, Barrage is the early game S-craft. But the early game S-crafting and taunting, I think, is what puts her in B tier. Because she's, like, doing specific things that are good. There's a lot of characters that aren't going to do specific things that are good. So therefore, they would be worse than a character that does specific things that are good. SC Joshua. He's very, very good, but he joins kind of late. The nice thing about Joshua is he joins with a super upgraded line and ridiculously over-leveled, and he kind of just rinses Chapter 6 and 7 for you. He doesn't really rinse Chapter 7, because Chapter 7 is filled with a couple of horseshit fights. But he does rinse Chapter 6 for you, and he's like one of your best characters offensively in Chapter 7. He's really good in Chapter 8 for the delays. You're stuck to a lot of physical attacks in this chapter. As the chapter goes on, you're going to lose more and more zero fill generators. You can run and do most fights with the max amount, but you can't do every fight with the max amount. There's some where you're just going to want Joshua to be clocked up and delay everything infinitely, and he's really good at that. He kind of drops off like a rock in the final dungeon. I think he's pretty bad there, but he's really, really good for like 3 chapters. SC Shara is borderline S tier. We love gimmicks. Depends on the gimmick. SC Shara is borderline S tier. If low level New Game Nightmare is possible with Shara instead of Agate, she is S tier. She is an easy S tier. I don't think it is. It might be. I'm not sure. I haven't tried it. But in my theory crafting, I don't know if it is. Mostly because Shara doesn't have a delay, and Shara lacks a lot of Agate's burst damage. But even if you're only counting late Shara, she's still, like, borderline S tier. She's so fucking good. Heaven's Kiss is just, in a game where you need as much action economy as possible, something that gives your entire party an extra turn is so fucking good. It's so good. Also, her bulk matters because damage is so high in SC. There are things that will one-shot the other casters, but not Shara. But it's mostly just Heaven's Kiss. Like, there's not that much to talk about with the Sharas because they're all going to be an A tier, and the reason they're good is always the same thing, and it's Heaven's Kiss. FC Shara is unironically the one with the most shit to talk about. Okay, here's a character that I have soured on a lot, which is SC Olivier. I'm putting him in C tier. I think he's not that good, and I'm gonna say the same thing I did last time. What does he do? What does he do? He helps you kill things in Chapter 1 It's easier to get him clock up EX and clock down than it is to get it on Chloe. That's it. What else does he do? He's not bad. He's pretty good. He's about as good as you want him to be. But he's never doing anything besides just like casting spells that any character in the game can cast. Right? That's not exactly true. He can get access to some higher characters or higher level spells earlier than other characters. He doesn't have a niche. He doesn't do anything specific. It's so... There's like no argument that you can make to not just bench him after chapter 3 unless you like him. Which is fine. I mean, it's a single player game. Do whatever the fuck you want. Use the characters you like. I'll bring Mueller into endgame, bro. He's sick. But he doesn't do anything. Is my problem with him. Potential, man. It's true. He does have high potential. He is good if you train him. Hey, look. Hey, look. It's another S tier character. It's actually an S tier character that's better than Estelle. Agate is the guy that makes the impossible possible. People said New Game Nightmare is impossible for SC. This guy proves it's not. Agate does... We talked about how Olivier does nothing. Let's just go through the list of the things Agate does, okay? Ravens. This is the one fight that Shara's better. I talked about this in my challenge run. Shara does way more damage. Agate has to gamble on 10% seals. It's annoying, but it's not the end of the world. Alright? Of all the fights that suck in SC, it's not the end of the world, really. Chapter 1. He delays Mokies. He S-crafts monster chests and adds with the Sapphire Talisman and one-shots them. He throws food. Anyone can throw the elemental food, but he's the one that's good with the talisman, whereas other characters, it would eat up a more important accessory slot. So he throws elemental food at the boss and is really good for damage there. Why I'm qualified, I hold in my hand the Chalice of Heaven. So true. In Chapter 2, he's your burst damage guy. He still delays things. He impedes Sid. That's really good for reliability in that fight. He gets Beat Down 2. Beat Down 2 is the strongest S-craft in the most of the game. The only S-crafts that are stronger are like the late game final S-crafts that you get at the very end of the game. Beat Down 2 is actually the strongest one that's not one of those. That gets you through Divine Penguin. That gets you through Abyss Worms, kind of. It's like partly Chloe, partly Agate. It gets you through a lot of fights in Chapter 3 and 4. He wants to switch between Final Break and Beatdown 2 a lot, but Beatdown 2 is very, very good. Late game, he's still good, right? Because you've just been using him for all this stuff he's already good at, so he's naturally getting levels. And then if you want to bring him to late game, he gets Dragon Dive, and Dragon Dive's fucking insane. I probably should have used Agate instead of Mueller for the final dungeon in my challenge run, but yeah, this guy is ridiculous. Wild Rage 2 is one of the most broken moves in the series. They never bring it back after the Sky Arc in the same way that it was in the Sky Arc. In the Crossbell games, Randy gets it at the end of the game. In both games, he gets it at the end of the game as like a late game power trip tool. And then after the Crossbell arc, literally never comes back ever again. Does not come back ever. Because it's that insane. He basically has infinite CP. So Agate is no doubt in my mind, SC Agate specifically, no doubt in my mind, easy S tier character, one of the best characters in the whole franchise. I still argue that Shara SC is a game required, whereas the A tier characters are more defining. But putting her next to S tier is still weird. Oh, you posted twice on accident. Yeah, I see what you're saying. The problem is, the thing is, if Nightmare is not reliably, or with, it's never reliably, but if it's not with a semblance of reliability possible with Shara, there's a tier gap between her and Agate. I think she's probably closer to someone like FC Joshua. If it is possible with her and I just don't know the strats, then she's super easy S tier. But she is definitely going to be the top of A. For sure. Chloe! Yeah. Chloe goes up here too. So the big thing about Chloe is the 214. Or is it 215? No, I think it's 214. If she has 214 defense and an HP 2 with Abyss Worms, if you trigger a Quake, it won't quite one-shot her, but it will build her 100 CP for an S-Craft, which will then fully heal her. You have to not go into the fight with 200 CP, though, because if she has a defense buff, it throws everything off. She mostly is an S-Craft bot, honestly. The main thing that sets her apart from Olivier is her S-Craft. Her debuff is okay. It's bad at first because it's like 10% or something, but then it gets buffed to like 25 and 30%, and it's a lot better once she gets the upgraded version. But the main thing that sets Chloe apart is her S-Craft. You really, really need defense. Like, people talk about Grail Sphere in SC. Bro, it has nothing on Chloe's S-Craft. Chloe's S-Craft is way better than Grail's Fear in SC, and you want to know why? You have it at the points of the game where it's more important. Oh, 217. Sorry, it's 217 defense, not 214. 217 defense is what she needs. Wow, you would think I would know my own strats. You would think I would know my own strats that I found out. But alas, I am stupid. I am dumb. So, yeah, I mean, she is also, like, same thing as Olivia. She's, like, generally useful because she's a good caster, just with the, like, niche specific thing she does on top of being generally useful. That's why she's so high. Her saving you resources on worms, because otherwise you would have to Zerum your way through worms, lets you Zerum your way through Divine Penguin, which is the biggest brick wall fight in SC by far, in my opinion. Because Kurt, you have the resources for, it's just a matter of getting lucky, and Mueller you don't have to beat. Divine Penguin, you can potentially soft lock yourself at if you're never grinding. That fight is horseshit. And she's good in that fight too for her S-Craft. Yeah, Chloe's insane in that game. She was the character I was the saddest to bench. I wanted an excuse to use Chloe all game in SC, but I really don't think she's that good in the back half of the game. So, I didn't use her. But SC Chloe's my goat. Shoutouts. Slay Queen. SC Tita is borderline F tier. She is a warm body that can throw items in some fights. If it's a fight she doesn't get insta-killed in, she can throw items. She also blinds, like, a couple fights. She can blind a couple fights. There's a few monster exterminations that are vulnerable to blind. Every other time she's in the party, she's a complete and total liability. In Abyss Worms, it's, like, impossible to keep her alive. Chloe will just res her, and then she'll insta-die over and over again. Tita is really, really bad in this game. Her stats are terrible. She has next to nothing going for her. She does get a broken S-Craft in S-Game. She basically gets her own Dragon Dive, which is funny. Her secret S-Craft in Chapter 8 is about as high damage as Dragon Dive. Well, it's not as high damage because her strength is less, but the base damage is about the same. But yeah, no, she's a liability in most fights that she's in, and she's forced into the party a bunch in this game, and it always sucks. Even in, like, Ragnard, right? Ragnard's an easy boss, and Tita is like, oh, she can just Earthwall bot, and you never have to actually take damage in that fight. But to do that, she's draining your EP healing items because her EP pool is so terrible. So even then, she's like, technically she's doing something, she's useful, but she's doing it in a way that drains you of resources that could be used at another time, so she's like still kind of a liability. She sucks. She's terrible. SC Zin, he's a tough one to rank. This is the actual potential character. This is the actual investment guy, because Zin is insane if you train him. There is like very rarely a time you actually want to train him. he's a brick a lot of the time. He's insane in endgame if you train him up. I'm also not counting Thunder God Kickbug because it's port exclusive. Even without it, he's insane in late game. Actual Final Fantasy Monk, it's true. He has ridiculous stats if you train him, but is it worth getting him there? I think the answer is no. I think I'm going to put him in D for now because, like, I don't know if he's really that much better than Agater, Tita, and FC because these characters always do something. It's just the thing that they always do is not that impressive. Whereas Zin does not always do something. Did I move the background? I did. I fixed it. Zin does not always do something. Therefore, I don't think he should be rated that highly. I'm going to have to remove everyone's portrait. But maybe I'll shuffle him around. If you want a, like, fucking broken character in late game, you train Zin. He sucks for so many fights leading up to that. Annalise! Woo! Annalise! Woo! Woo! She's bad! She's really, really bad! Annalise is a guest character. In the prologue, in the opening dungeon, she's a better caster than Estelle because she has a higher art stat. So she's better at, like, firebolting and soul blurring stuff. Then, after that, she's pretty bad. Her toolkit's not bad in a vacuum. She's got a delay. She's got a 50% strength buff. Pretty cool. The problem is, if she 50% strength buffs, she dies. And if she delays, she dies. You don't kill the boss fast enough anymore because the delay doesn't do much damage. It's just not a part of the game that's like, you want a kit like Annalise's. Her S-Craft is bad. It's like basically a craft with how weak it is. 8-Leaf Blitz is pretty good. Mostly just because you want, for Grant and Karna, you want the burst damage. You want her to just run up and craft a couple times and then S-Craft and then die. That's her role in life. So she's like useful. She's important. She's vital. It's just she's bad. Like you would prefer anyone else. But I'll put her in D tier because she is like super important. By my arts? Yeah, I said that. I said that she's good at soul blurring in the prologue dungeon. What I meant is she's good at soul blurring Kurt. Because that's the only time you use soul blur. Because everything else is weak to fire. She is better at killing Kurt than Estelle is, though. But right afterwards, Estelle gets access to dark matter, so she becomes a way better caster than Annalise. SC Julia. Tank fight, she's really good in. Final dungeon, she's never going to be an optimal choice, but she's not bad. She's quite good in the final dungeon if you want her to be. I would say she's worse than Xin, because Xin is always good for Divine Penguin. Julia's always good for tank fight. But Xin also has chapter 7, right? The Walter Tower, where he is actually surprisingly capable of putting in work compared to some of the other underleveled characters if you don't use them, just because he's really bulky. So he'll naturally get to the point where he at least survives, which is not something that you can say for like Tita, or potentially an underleveled Shara. But like, why would Shara be underleveled? I mean, the reason is you don't use her because you don't like her or whatever, but you know, if we're assuming like a tier list setting, why would Shara ever be underleveled? Josette is the only character in SC that is going in F tier. She's the only non-Ravens character that's going in F tier. She only joins for the final dungeon of SC, and she is a joke character. She is intentionally bad, has horrible stats, and is a liability in every fight she's in. And she doesn't even have an S-craft. The one dungeon she's forced for, she doesn't have an S-craft. She is unironically as bad as the Ravens. SC Mueller, I love this guy, alright? I love this guy, and on the first list, I started with him high, and then had to move him down, because he's realistically not that good. But he's just this guy that shows up for the final dungeon that has monster stats. That did fucking steroids. And, just is jacked. The problem is he better than someone like Agate or Shara in the final dungeon? Or Kevin? And the answer? It depends. He's close, but it depends. I think the tank fight, I'm gonna put him above Julia. I think I put him below Julia originally. Or did I put him above Julia? No, I did put him above Julia originally. Okay, cool. Well, he's staying above Julia because I think that how good he is in the final dungeon outweighs the tank fight. But this guy's a beast. If you've never used Mueller in the final dungeon and you play this game, I would recommend doing it. He's epic. He just runs around, and if he crits, he shits out damage. You can only pick Mueller because the game is letting up. Well, I don't know about that. I mean, that's partially true. The game was definitely letting up, and it let me experiment more. But I think if as long as I bring Kevin, the fourth character doesn't matter that much. Speaking of Kevin, he's not going in S tier. He's going bottom of A. Before I had him above Joshua, actually. Do I still agree with that? No, I don't. I think that was dumb. I think that was silly of me to do. I'm putting him below Joshua. Kevin's problem in SC is he's never really around. In Chapter 1, he does carry you through one fight, which is pretty cool. In Chapter 3, he's helpful, but he doesn't matter that much. In Chapter 6, he's really good. In Chapter 7, he's really good, but only super vital for Ren. Ren's like his best fight in the whole game. And then he's good in the final chapter. That's not enough of the game for me to consider him an S tier character. Especially when a lot of the times he's not even vital. But he is really, really good. He also just doesn't have a lot of the shit his third counterpart has. He's just Grailsphere bot in this game is the other thing. That's my problem with Kevin. Or my other problem with Kevin in this game is he is literally just Grailsphere. Is Grailsphere enough to get him to A? Yes, 100%. Is it enough to get him to S? Not in SC. Kurt! Fucking hate this guy. So Kurt is not around very long. He is around for a single side quest, much like the Ravens. But at the very least, he is good. He is good for that one side quest. He's got a couple cool things going for him. He's got the only defense buff in the game. He's got AoE anyway. He's got a craft revive. He's got Shadow Spear just on a craft, which is really funny. He's pretty good. His stats are decent line. He's not a bad character. If he was around for the whole game, he would be pretty good. Not optimal, but pretty good. The problem is he's around for such a short period of time. I'm going to put him above E tier because the E tier characters are borderline liabilities. But note that Kurt is like bottom of D, like super bottom of D, because he's just never around. And most of the fights he's around for are easy. They're not easy, but they're not hard. They're like You have to think a little bit, but you're mostly going through the motions. And then Gilbert's a joke boss. He's not hard, right? So, third. We're getting there. Estelle. Not as bad as Josette. I've seen the sentiment before, scouring the internet, that Estelle is worse than Josette. That is a silly take. The reason Estelle is okay is she has a very upgraded line off the bat. Everything comes at level 2. She's a high level off the bat. And she takes very, very little effort to get going. Does that make her good? No, but it makes her usable with very little effort on the player's end. So I think she's probably D tier. But very low D tier. She does suck ass. She is really bad. Third Joshua is going up in B. But I think I might lower him. I think I might have overrated this guy last time. Third Joshua is really good for chariots because he infini delays them. And they never get a turn. And he's generally good in the early chapters. Chapter 4, he starts to lose his staying power. He starts to fall off. But for chapter 2 and 3, he's quite good. My problem with Joshua is, like, delays are less good in this game. They are still good. There's still a lot of more things I think I probably could have delay locked in third than I did in the challenge run. But delays are less good in this game. His good base stats are actually kind of bad. You care more about offensive base stats in third because speed is such an easy stat to augment. And Joshua has never been that much faster than other characters. Usually your base speed doesn't matter that much. It's mostly just, do you have the highest level action available equipped? And are you not under-leveled? It's usually those two things, more than your base stat. So, all Joshua really has going for him is the early game. And then after that, he's like, decent if you want him to be. I find specifically his damage output is very, very lacking. It's very, very disappointing in the back half of the game. It's difficult to get this guy to hit meaningful numbers. But delay, when it's relevant, is still really good, and his early game is still super strong. The other problem, though, I said this last time, and this is a problem with all the Joshuas, is like, whenever he uses a craft, he goes to fucking Malibu, bro. He takes a vacation and hits the beaches before he gets his next turn. Like, it takes so long. And this is a problem that all craft characters have. But with Joshua, if he's not, like, delaying and then acting again, it feels really bad. Same with Agate. Agate has that problem too. But, man, it sucks sometimes. Third Shara. Oh, that is moving the whole tier list. Third Shara. She's going to go, but holy moly, above FC Shara because she's doing similar things, but for more of the game, but below SC Chloe because SC Chloe is like still one of those characters that I consider vital, where I don't really consider, oh, fucking hell, I keep moving the tier list. I do not consider third Shara vital. But she is literally as good as a non-vital character can get. She's amazing. All of the Sharas are amazing. Whereas third young Shara, F tier with the Ravens. Because she is once again around for one side quest and intentionally terrible. Okay, third Olivier. This guy's also going into C tier. Basically everything I said about SC Olivier applies to third Olivier. Except now there's more alternatives to him, so he's a little bit lower. And he's not around for like a brutal early game like he is in SC. But I think they're pretty comparable, so he's going in the same tier. Third Agate is like top of B, bottom of A. I still don't know if he's top of B or bottom of A, but I'm gonna glaze him and put him top of, or bottom of A. Agate's thing in third is he does not have the same raw damage output that characters like Xin or Tita do, or Annalise to a lesser extent. Or Richard, obviously. But what he does have is Dragon Dive and Wild Rage. The combination of Dragon Dive and Wild Rage makes him the go-to for any fight that needs AoE in this game. Any of them. Whether that's trash mobs, the final boss, the Abyss. You have to, well, it's actually just two fights in the Abyss. It's the night fight and Tempest Palm, but you have to do the Abyss all in one go or else they respawn, so... The whole Abyss. Did I say Wild Assault? Or, did I say Wild Assault instead of Wild Rage? Am I fighting game brain rotted? Anyway. No, I said it? Oh, thank God. Holy shit, if I let Strive terminology rip, oh my God, you might have heard a fucking gunshot on mic and this stream would have never ended. Holy, bro. Woo! Woo! Okay, hold on. Hold up. Pause. Agate is super, super good. The only reason that I'm thinking of moving him down to B is he does need a little bit of favoritism. He doesn't get there on his own. He needs help. But he turns that help into something that's really, really good. More so than someone like an SC Zen or like a third Tito, who we'll get to in a bit here. Because like SC Kevin also kind of needs help. Not as much, but he needs to get leveled up for the final dungeon, probably. Because he missed out on all of Chapter 8, right? And Agate doesn't need that much help. He gets most of the way there for taking him to fights that he's good in. It's just if you want him to actually kill Tempest Palm, or not kill Tempest Palm, he actually has a really hard time killing Tempest Palm. If you actually want him to kill the Shining Palms in that fight, you probably need to bring him to a couple fights in Chapter 6. It's not that hard. There's usually better choices for the fights you have to bring him to, but it's not that hard to squeeze him in. So, I think A tier is not a terrible placement, but if someone said top of B, I also don't know if I'd argue with them. I think I'd probably say, yeah, fair enough. Okay, third Chloe. Speaking of top of B, third Chloe is going to top of B, probably. Third Chloe, I don't know if I want to put her above or below the FC casters. I put her above originally, but she might be worse. I think she's less necessary, but she's around for more, and she's stronger. The nice thing about this Chloe is she has an S-craft that does damage. SC Chloe technically has one that does damage, but I'm pretty sure it's strength-based in SC. I don't think it's a magic craft in that game, where it is in third. She's really good in Cassius for the defense buff, so you don't get one shot. That's it, though. It's mostly just Cassius. There's not any other fights that I'm like, yeah, I want to bring Chloe to. Okay, I'm convincing myself. I'm putting her below the FC casters. I think the FC casters are better. I'm changing my mind. Alright, revisionist history. She's going below the FC casters. She is really, really good, though. And she's one of the better, like, if you want them to be good characters in the trilogy. Because she has more of a payoff than, like, an SC Olivier or SC Zen. And she's faster to get there. Look, the Chloes make a triangle. Okay, Tita. Really overrated character, in my opinion. She sucks early on. Once you get Orbital Gear, which is basically at the end of Chapter 4, she gets essentially one of the best crafts in the game. But when she first gets Orbital Gear, she is essentially Zin without an S-craft for, like, a while. Which, I don't know about you, that doesn't sound very good to me. Late game, it's different. She scales really, really hard into late game and is one of the highest potential damage output characters in the game. It's just the difference is you have to lug her through fights she's not very good in to get her there. Whereas someone like Richard, who we'll talk about later, obviously, is just good out of the gate. And I really, really don't like that she's not good out of the gate. And she can't cast magic. That's also really bad, is she can't cast spells while she's in Orbital Gear. Someone like Richard, or even Zin or Agate, can cast spells still. I'm going to put her above Olivier, I think, because I don't like Olivier that much, to be honest. I think I'm also going to move FC Zin back to where he was, which is the bottom of C. I'm going to leave a spot open, because I'm going to talk about Zin real quick, too. Zin is like his SC self, but with a much stronger start. And maybe a little bit less payoff. But he shits out damage, and he's pretty good at it. It's just you probably don't use him after Chapter 4. But I think he's mostly a better version of Tita, even if her damage output is a little bit better. Because he can cast spells, and he takes less legwork to get off the ground. Third, Annalise. I like third Annalise a lot. I think she's a super fun character to use. I don't think she's that good. The problem is, if you get Jinyu, and she's at her best in Chapter 4 by far when she first gets Jinyu, you get it, and she has less strength than Xin and the same speed as Xin, which is like good, but not amazing, right? She's like a slightly worse Xin. And then as the game goes on, she starts falling off because Jinyu doesn't keep up. And then she's like pretty bad in the back half of Chapter 6. And then you drag her through Nightmare Arena. And then she's pretty fucking good for the final dungeon once she has the upgraded sword. She's like very good in the final dungeon. Yeah, that's like not that much. The biggest thing she has is Whirlwind Dance, the vacuum craft. That shit's gas. That shit's actually really good. When you have to bring underleveled Annalise through the Looking Glass, and all she does is suck enemies in and delay them, it's awesome. She's like really good in a lot of those fights, even underleveled, because without even ever doing a single point of damage. So I like her. I think she's a cool party member that does a lot of things. But most of the time, she's kind of bad. I'm gonna put her above F Season. They're similar to me. But I think F Season is borderline D tier, where I think Annalise is pretty confidently C tier. So, I'm gonna keep her above. Julia! Secret gas character alert. Secret gas character alert. Julia, unlike Annalise, who's good for a measly 1 chapter, Julia is good for a monumental 2.5 chapters. I think that Julia gets a bad rap in this game because people focus on her late game, which, to be fair, is terrible. Julia's late game is really bad, but her early game's great. Akashic Heart in Chapter 2 makes her your best character for a little while. Attack Orders is really good early on. The ability to Earthguard herself on a craft is really good early on. Julia is super, super good in the early game. I am moving the tier list again like a moron. I am going to put her above Tita to make Tita fans angry. I'm still going to put her below Xin, though. But Julia is always doing something good. Wow, Julia Falcon, you have 2 chapters. It's so true. Julia is always doing something good in every single playthrough. Tita is not. I think you can probably argue Tita's better, but I don't think there's a big gap. Genuinely, I don't think there's a big gap between these characters one way or the other. And I value Julia's guaranteed contributions more than Tita's potential. Hey, look. It's a bad character. She's going above SC Tita, though, because SC Tita blinds 2 fights and then is a liability every other time. Josette defense debuffs an enemy and steals an attack 3 that you have a random chance of just getting as a drop anyway, which isn't much, but I think it's more than Tita. Also, if I was taking into account remote abilities, Josette would be S tier, because Josette has the best remote ability by far, because it's the biggest drop rate and biggest Sepith boost. But I'm not taking into account remote abilities. This is just how they perform in combat. Mueller. The problem I have with Mueller in third is there's just never a point you want to use him early on, and so he starts falling behind real fast. And whenever you do use him, he's always just short of the benchmarks you need to hit. Like, he struggles at killing mirrors with an S-craft. If he's underleveled, he struggles at killing angels with an S-craft in the final dungeon, which he should be good at because he has a big strength stat and a big S-craft. His crafts are, like, not that good. He's got a lot of them, but most of them don't do anything. His main gimmick is that he hits twice in chain attacks. Julia also does this, but her strength's a lot worse, so it matters less. He hits twice in chain attacks. So what this means is you can have someone like Josette or like Chloe that has really bad strength able to just use Mueller's strength stat on their turn by chain attacking with him. And that's pretty good. The problem is it delays them both a lot. Chain attacks are pretty strong when you can set them up properly. They're actually, you can, if you invest in Julia and Mueller, and then give them both all your strength boosters, you can fucking melt endgame bosses in this game. Like, melt endgame bosses with chain attacks Like, you chain attack with both of them, and then you use your other 2 party members to put them back into chain attacks, both of them, and you chunk health bars. And it's very funny, but it takes, you know, a ton of setup. I'm trying to think if he does more than his SC self, and he probably does. It's mostly just mirrors. It's really just mirrors that he is his, like, day in the sun, time to shine. Which is less important than Divine Penguin, but more important than what SC Mueller is doing. Which I think the exact same spot I put him on the first list, so... I think we save him for last. I'm gonna save Kevin for last. Reese. Character that grew on me a lot in the 3rd challenge run. I used to think this party member was bad. I was dumb and wrong and stupid and dumb and wrong and dumb. Reese is amazing. Reese is amazing because of a lot of reasons. Holy Blessing is super fucking good craft. Her line is surprisingly good because it's only 1 locked slot, whereas similar lines like Julia is 2, Shara's is 2. Actually, Shara's is I think a 1 on her 2nd line, not a 2. But Joshua, 2 locked slots. Julia, 2 locked slots. Reese is only 1 locked slot, and Mirage isn't a super bad lock to have. There's a couple good Mirage quartz in this game. EP is pretty good. Nothingness in late game is good. There's like Cloak and Covert and all of those also. So, you know, pretty good line. Early on, she's a pretty good physical attacker. She's actually better at physically attacking than Kevin, which I didn't realize. She's about as good as Tita at attacking physically. And there are some things. Bennu, phase 2, you have to kill physically, basically. Gilbert's mech. Again, you don't have to kill it physically, but it's better to kill it physically. That doesn't stay true throughout the game. She becomes terrible at physical offense later in the game, but early on it's pretty good. Her art stat is like bad early on, but then she starts getting arts boosting weapons, and her arts boosts on weapons are huge, huge, to the point where she's actually impressive offensively. She leads the party. Okay, I don't know if I agree with that one. I think chapter 5 is her weakest point. I think she's ass there. Mostly because she's forced to sit out for all of chapter 4, so she's kind of far behind. And Reese's main weakness is her offenses are shaky, because her weapons at that point in the game don't give like insane arts boosts. They just give good arts boosts. And Estelle, who is also an offensively shaky party member, is locked into the party. So now you're stuck with like 2 whatever characters offensively, and all she's really giving you access to is Holy Blessing, which, like, yeah, you can Holy Blessing Richard. He doesn't start with CP, so he needs it, but I think that's actually her shakiest point in the party, is when she's stuck leading it. But no, I think Reese is very, very good. I might have over-evaluated her on my last list, but I think I'm going to put her above Chloe. I know that sounds insane. But again, the problem I run into with Chloe is what does she do most of the time? Whereas Reese, I can point out the things that she's doing. But I think I am going to put her below the FC casters, because the FC casters might just be that good. I remember Josh being like, that wasn't that bad. Yeah, Estelle's like not that bad in chapter 5. She's at her best there probably, and her best is... I'm going to save Richard too. Ren. Another super overrated character. I think I put Ren at the bottom of B tier on my last list. Yep, that is true. That's exactly where I put her. And that's where she's going again. I do think she's a tier above Olivier. The Oliviers, I'll say. Because she joins with a fully upgraded line. That's the best part about her, is she joins with tier 3 slots across the board. Only character that joins like that. She also technically has the best line in the franchise. I disagree. Everyone goes in F. Oh, shit, you're right. My bad. People overevaluate this character a lot. I'm gonna kill Seren in real life. People overevaluate this character a lot. Really, it's just that she joins overleveled with an upgraded line is what makes her good, but she has no niche. She doesn't do anything specific. She's honestly not that much better than Olivier in Endgame. In fact, she has things that are worse. The worst thing about this character is she has no HP, so she gets one shot. She gets one shot by so many things, and there's so many fights where it's like, I want to bring this character with a super good spell list. Oh, she dies in one hit. You can't bring her to any of the hardest fights because she insta-dies unless you, like, put in a ton of effort to level her up and make her not insta-die. I think she's still good because she's, like, brainless. She's, like, a super brain-dead easy character to use. Because you don't have to think about what quartz you put on her. You throw on fucking anything and she has a good spell list and she's over-leveled and fully upgraded out of the gate. I don't think she's bad, but I just think that she's, like, a generalist that doesn't do anything specific, and, there's not really a reason to bring her over other characters for most fights. It's like, Philip, she's good for, because all you care about is a character with a good spell list there. Like, a lot of the fights in the military base she's good for, because, again, all you really care about is the spell list. You don't really care what it's attached to. I don't think she's bad, but most people would probably put her in S tier, and most people would be wrong. Tell me a character in the game. What, in this game? So there's this guy, his name is Dean, and he's the worst character in the whole series. His nickname is the Spinach Fiend. There's a character. There you go, bud. Alright, let's talk about Superior Nippon Steel Man. Hey, somebody ban Dent. I know he's a mod, but can someone ban that guy? Let's talk about teleports behind you, Superior Nippon Steel, folded 1,000 times. Richard is, like, not S tier, but he's close. So much of third is solved by you just use Richard because he is the highest damage character by a country mile. He is the highest damage character in the game by far, and he's high damage in a very flexible way because he gets so many turns. Richard has the best damage output in the game in a way that's very flexible because he gets turns very often. So you can, like, Ogre Slash someone twice and then start casting a spell, which other big damage dealers don't have that flexibility. And they don't do as much damage as him. And his line is amazing. And his stats are good across the board. Like, he's ridiculous. This character is like an SNK boss character in RPG form. He's insane. He's still not the best character in the game. We haven't talked about the best character in the game yet. He also is the last character to join the party. Well, him and Ren join at the same time. But he's tied for the last character to join the party, which kind of sucks. Third is a game that's very back-loaded with encounters. Like, Chapter 6 is the most fight-dense chapter in the game by a shit ton. Dean's the best because in a world of knights and miracles, he proves loyalty. A leather jacket and a bad attitude can still steal a spotlight. Is that ChatGPT? That's awesome. That's so funny and so AI coded. You bet it is. The Dean Glazer. The world's only Dean Glazer in chat right now. He shows up to the Dean Appreciation Party and he's the only one there. Why is that writing better than Cold Steel? It's true. AI has more soul than any Cold Steel game. Alright. He's the best character in the entire franchise. I think he is not only the best character in his game, he is the best character in the Sky Trilogy. He might be the single best party member in Trails as a whole. Kevin is fucking ridiculous in third. He is an insane character for them to give you access to the whole game. Railsphere I talked about already. It's even better here, because it's easier to get him CP. Because you get a Gladiator belt right away with transfer bonuses. Okay? He has, like, shockingly good physical offense early on, at least in the prologue and to a lesser extent Chapter 1. It's pretty bad in Chapter 1, actually. But in the prologue, it's good. And then he also gets 2 really, really strong offensive S-crafts, which really only matter for the fights that you get them, but they're amazing in those fights. So there are times he's good at attacking physically. He's a good caster. His weapons give him arts boosts, right? And that kind of makes up for his mediocre art stat. His line is amazing. It's one of the best lines in the whole game. It's like better than Chloe's line, even though Chloe's is one line. It's like it might be the second best line in the game behind Ren's. No, Olivia's is probably still a little bit better. It's close though, because you usually wouldn't give Kevin a Mirage Quartz, so it's close. It's close. This character's ridiculous. He has the best availability in the game because he's the protagonist. He gets a delay for some reason. Like, all of his other crafts are good. He gets a delay. He gets a CP gift. The craft heal's kind of whatever, but it is still pretty useful early on. Because it's AoE, and you can't really get AoE heals early on. And it cures status effects too. Like, he gets everything. He is given everything on a silver platter. He is just the best character in the game from start to finish. There is no reason to ever take Kevin out of the party. There are reasons to take him out of the party in SC. There is no reason in third, if you could take him out of the party, that you would. Unless you're trying to train up weaker characters. That's like the only reason, is if you're trying to, in the final chapter, train weaker characters. That is the only reason you would ever take Kevin out of the party. Kevin, like that kid who brings a whole tragic backstory to a knife fight. Cool for 5 minutes, then you realize he's just trauma dumping between holy smites. Stylish? Sure, but beneath the cassock, he's basically edgy church boy with a guilt complex. Mid-tier hero vibes. Hey, can somebody ban Sared? I know he's a mod, but can someone ban Sared _? That's funny. That's so funny, actually. It's Fred and Larry. 2 classics to go alongside the GOAT. Yep. Fred and Larry. My 2 favorite characters. Fred and Larry. Honestly, Fred or Larry would be a better name than Ray. Which I don't even know if that's the way you say it. I think it is. It's like French, right? It's like Ray. Oh, oui, oui. Parle bleu. I am les artistique. Okay, anyway, this list is done. I'll do a once over, but I was mostly using my other list, so I don't think I'm gonna reorder stuff that much. S tier is fine. A tier is fine. B tier is... Do I move Agate down one? Okay. That's the list.